AI philosopher, educator, and builder, author of The Hacker Culture and the New Rules of Innovation. Mark and I, please welcome Tim Rayner.
I am a philosopher, and I hope to be forgiven for that. I think the answer is humility. You really can't go past the three horizons framework. They're now working with an AI that operates at their level. AI is kind of smart, stupid.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like people I knew in the university. They're like brilliant at doing one thing.
Yeah.
Where do you see us going with AI?
The routine tasks are going to be automated, which will lead to the transformations of jobs. There's sort of like AI pilots getting zero ROI, but 95% of employees in these companies are using AI on the sly. You know, the shadow AI, because like human plus AI, that's the magic. Philosophy teaches you to like stay with the question and really explore the question. One of my key philosophical tenets that a life well lived is a journey of discovery, basically seeking to find out what you are capable of being at the culmination of your life. I think if you start your life with this idea of who you are and just kind of pursue that groove, a person like me is just a path to stagnation. Grassroots experimentation going on at the moment. It's probably the most sort of rich and dynamic social experiment in technology we've ever known. And most of it is just going on under the radar, cognitive archaeology. Excavate all that stuff, code it into AI agents, and then work with those agents to create that mirror effect, to be engaged with and to be used as a thinking partner. It was evaluated and trained by experts to ensure that it gave really sharp, reasonable responses to really deep, probing questions. AI is not so great at that practical wisdom, all about contextual understanding.
It's experience and wisdom that separates us from this machine.
Education needs to be reinvented with a focus on AI.
Absolutely.
And the universities are so behind the ball on this.
It's interesting because they've got that old model, which I guess, you know, it's always like the industry complaint is that what's being taught in the unis isn't what's happening in the real world, and hence why you have these like guest lecturers and telling you what's really happening and stuff there. But like AI is so new, generative AI is like so new that like both sides have that almost level playing field. So that's interesting.
Yeah, but it's incredibly threatening to most academics because it is, you know, knowledge on tap.
You mean cheating tools, right?
It's not
Cheat GPT?
I mean, it's only cheating if the universities haven't proper thought about the structure of integration. Like, it's cheating if you walk into an exam and you're not supposed to use a user, you're cheating. But in the outside world, it is now such a fundamental part of everything that people are doing. If they're giving coursework to people and they're not considering the fact that they're using AI, like it's like you said,
bring up the level.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they need to be doing. Well, I think everyone needs to be building first. I think we need to have a build first mindset.
Yeah.
I think you should go into university, learn how to build, and then be guided down a course of AI development, working with AI, learning, completing activities, building something new. You can have experts come in and review the work and engage with what you're doing. But I think the AI building needs to be the center. Yeah.
Massive opportunity there. Like we had Build Club and the founder Annie there, and that's grown into a phenomenal thing with 50 countries now that they're in.
That's mind-blowing.
And just mind-blowing educational connections that they've got people going to them to do videos for different AI courses and stuff. So there is this phenomenon going around there if you can capture it. And like, you know, you're tapped into UTS Business School. I could see like, I can see so many people would want to even have more interest in going to business school if there was like an AI component to what they're doing, and it's students as well.
It's interesting because they are doing outward AI programs and supporting businesses. Like we did a pitch for it, and I don't know who they gave it to, but they were building a sort of AI education framework for organizations to make sure they're going through the right steps and guardrails when it comes to data, organization, considerations around tool usage, security, impact, all that type of stuff. And so they are, like, UTS is doing stuff. So it's interesting that as important as that is on a business level, that's not trickling down into the student side of things.
Well, I think the challenge for UTS is it's the same challenge that many businesses are facing at the moment. Embracing AI requires you to rethink your business model.
Yeah.
Now, how are you delivering value? And can you continue to deliver the same value at the same price point? Because if you can't, then you're just kind of sailing, straight ahead into an iceberg.
So true.
And I don't think that the executive at UTS have really figured out where to go and what to do. I think that is what's creating the the rabbit in the headlights effect. I think it's the same thing in corporate as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there an opportunity there?
I reckon there is. Like if you've got or let's go back to like first principles. What does AI do? It uplifts people that barely had the skills to now having skills, people that had the skills to being even more experts, and people that aren't experts into superstars. Like if everyone is uplifted, it means, and we were chatting about this in the pre-engagement, that there are things that even for me, I would never have considered to do before, but now is worth considering because the impossible, take out the M. A lot of stuff is possible these days because of AI. So maybe there's got to be something there. And Australia needs to have this like change because we can't just keep digging stuff out of the ground and shipping it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I don't know much about AI take up, at the executive level. I kind of suspect that it's slow at that level. And I think that is a big blocker because you're right. AI is raising everyone's game. But it's the top level strategic thinkers who need to be elevating their game and rethinking the foundations of their businesses at this point. That's a really challenging thing though, because there's so much change and it's leading us into such strange and uncertain territory that leaders whose responsibility is to look after the financial well-being of their organizations are in an incredibly difficult position. There's so much risk that they're carrying, and you can understand why they want to take things slow while the rest of the world is speeding up. And so they become the blocker.
In irony though, it's like AI, if used in a certain way, can be a de-risking tool though. So it's this irony that you can use the tool to help you use the tool. Kind of thing.
Well, exactly.
That creates the risk.
Well,
it's a risk cycle.
We're going around circles, guys.
but anyway.
Yeah. Are we going, by the way? Is this?
No, we haven't been. But I mean, everything.
Gee, that was gold.
I can 100% still use all of it.
I was going to say, this should still be part of the show. If you're watching this, that means that Chris has left this in and it is part of the show.
Sure.
Well, but just before we dive in,
I was going to add to it as well. So.
I was going to say something too.
Let's go
first.
So I just came from a session this morning with a business. I won't name the business, obviously, but talking about AI integration within the organization. And one of the key things that we said is sometimes businesses are thinking too much around AI. They're like, oh, AI, it's the big thing. We need to make sure everything is AI. When you break it down to the fundamentals, it's like, guys, you need to solve pick key pain points within that journey. Don't just think AI, I need to plug this in on top.
And it's a magic bullet.
It's not a magic bullet, right? Where are the pain points? Where are the opportunities to fix things? Can AI support that? And then move forward from that position. Like testing small things. People just keep, like, the biggest issue they were saying is that, we integrated Copilot and no one does it. I'm like, well, firstly, you're using Copilot. Number two is like, did you train anyone on how to use it? Like, do you know how fundamentally what to do with it?
Well, exactly.
Not at all.
Exactly. We were approached by a large organization who I will not name, who were interested in doing some AI training. And we were preparing to pitch them on a 6-week in-depth agentic AI training program, but it turned out they wanted a 4-hour workshop and they want us to tell their staff about AI in the first 2 hours and then run a build-a-thon in the second 2 hours. And we were like, oh God. No, come on, invest in human capability development, invest in innovation development, because there are people within every organization who, given the chance, will rise to the occasion. They will use these tools to elevate their own thinking and their own practice. And you've got to bring those people up, make them central, and enable them to help you figure out how to de-risk the transition and lead the organization on transformation.
It comes back to like that chicken before the egg kind of thing, right? Where you make all these decisions on this thing and you're like, oh, this is the thing, I'm gonna have to do this. And then you're like, oh wait, I haven't done this. oh wait, I haven't done this. And then you end up all the way back to this point of where you should have been at the first is what's your pain point? What are the fundamental things that are broken? First principles, exactly it. And then like take that progress to make the decisions.
Yeah.
Whether it's transformation, whether you're doing innovation, whether you're a project manager, whether you're, the guy who's serving coffee at the front, like it all has to come back to that sort of first principle mentality. Don't just give someone something and be like, hey, cool, this is going to solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly. It blows my mind how so many organizations are saying, here's Microsoft Copilot. Now you're enabled. Go ahead and create change. And by the way, we expect you to be like 30% more productive by the end of the quarter.
It's like,
it's fascinating.
I'm gonna put a sideline question here, like just to lead into some of the stuff, because like you wrote a book around the changing of what is happening in digital industry, the hackathon, and I want to get the name of the book right.
Hacker culture and the rules of innovation.
Thank you very much. I had it written down, but I'm not. We've gone in a different tangent, so I'm out of order. But what I liked about that is it was touching on the change in how innovation is occurring within organizations, where we used to have these like really long form ways of doing things, and now we're into this sort of hacker culture within organizations, obviously with a certain framework. We're not just hacking and breaking for the sake of it. They're still hacking with purpose. But we're doing it in smaller bite-sized mentality. How do you think that has changed from when you wrote that book to where I guess what we're seeing now with this innovation of AI changing how we're working and the people? Do you think we've shifted again, or is that we're still in that sort of era?
I think we're in the process of shifting back to where we were around the beginning of the 2010s. The argument in the hacker culture book is essentially that the culture of experimentation and iteration and discovery that essentially grew up in the open source movement. I mean, it goes back to the early days of hacking, computer hacking, but it was spread around the world with open source. And then you had entrepreneurs like Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg and the whole Silicon Valley tech scene who cut their teeth on open source hacking and culture, and then became tech entrepreneurs and introduced that whole mindset and way of doing innovation into the tech scene at the beginning of the millennium. That kind of like ruled the roost up until the GFC. And then after that, I noticed a lot of business leaders were saying, hacking is great if you want to build apps, but if you want to, if you want to build big things like rocket ships and electric cars and all this kind of stuff, you need like a 5-year strategy and you need, investment and stage gates and all that stuff. So we kind of went back because things went from the hacking the web product to building the hardware products. We went back to more of a long-term vision of innovation. But I think with AI, the focus is turning back to that hacking mindset. And I think Build Club is an amazing illustration of where innovation is at today. It's just about bringing people together, creating a safe space for people to run experiments, try things out, share ideas.
I love this where I don't know, people obviously use these tools incorrectly sometimes, where the vibe coding platforms squarely fall into this category and bolstering that idea of breaking, like building things, hacking them together, testing them, innovating them, and then potentially building them out into something bigger. It's just something I've noticed more and more with the businesses who are doing this sort of hacking and innovation approach really properly, are utilizing these tools to bolster and expedite, I guess, that process as well. What inspired you to write the book?
My work's always lived at the intersection of philosophy, innovation, and human capability development. And I've kind of zigzagged between those things in the course of my career. It has been a matter of constant navigation and re-navigation, trying to find this sweet spot where
hacking your own life, is it?
Exactly. I think my interest in hacking came out of a realization that my life and my trajectory was essentially about experimentation and discovery. I actually believe it's one of my key philosophical tenets that a life well lived is a journey of discovery, basically seeking to find out what you are capable of being at the culmination of your life. I think if you start your life with this idea of who you are and just kind of just pursue that groove, then yeah. Look, that's good for some people, but for a person like me, it's just a path to stagnation.
Yeah.
I need to be exploring, and I also need to be building one thing on the other.
Like pushing boundaries and stuff, right?
Pushing boundaries, learning new lessons, and then going, okay, so now I've learned this. Based on what I learned before, where can I take things next?
Taking out the AI kind of side of things, like if it was any other technology, let's go back 100 and whatever many years and stuff that the cars came about, people like yourself that would be, and like us that want to push those boundaries, we would be experimenting with new types of wheels and new types of chassis, and like, you know, we'd be experimenting with that. Then, you know, .com and internet, or, you know, all the technological innovations that have come about, there's always those early adopters that might not have created, but they're definitely part of that first, you know, 5% of folks that are getting in, and then others will get in, but it takes the ones that are like building, experimenting, breaking things, making new ways of doing old things. I think that's that's the stage that we're in right now, and it's exciting, right?
Oh, absolutely. And what makes it just incredible is the fact that we're building with synthetic intelligence, which is something we've never done before. We've never had the capacities that we have now by virtue of the synthetic intelligence, and we've never been in a position like this where we literally do not know where this can take us. You know, our economies, our businesses, and ourselves as biological entities.
It makes
becoming less biological by the year, I think.
Oh yeah, there's the whole like cyberpunk, the game for folks that might be watching, where it's all like cybernetic kind of parts, and all those movies, science fiction movies are about that. But on that question of intelligence, I think it's made people wake up and go, hang on a second, like this thing sounds pretty reasonably like a human, and sure, there's the tells, and you know, we stir the pot a little bit on LinkedIn when you put out posts that talk about those tells, and people get really protective around like, oh no, I hate when AI writes stuff. And anyway, as an aside, but going back to,
that was like your biggest post.
That was my big,
crazy.
It was great, like 100 plus, you know, the likes were fine, but it's 200 comments.
Yeah,
that's what was the killer.
Yeah.
Because people were really like pro one side, like just to get to the substance of the thing, and then anti on the other side, like I hate AI everything. And it's like, okay, you're using it right now. Anyway, but going back to the intelligence side of things, we've got this thing that's happened where it sounds like us, and it's like, okay, when does the machine sound like us? But what about the reverse? Like, we're discovering about ourselves that we're more formulaic, that there's more kind of algorithm to what's running our brain, it seems like, than we first thought, because they're so similar. What do you think about that?
I definitely, there is clearly a element of pattern matching to human intelligence. And additionally, we are, as social animals, we are enculturated to repeat patterns that we have inherited from our tribes, our cultures, and whatever. Languages like that. I mean, you listen to people talk, and they're just kind of saying the same kind of things. Like that's how we work as social animals. AI has been trained on how we behave, and so it reflects that back to us. And as it reflects us back to us, we reflect back on ourselves, and so we learn about our own modes of behavior and capabilities. What I find fascinating about that AI mirror is that it leads us to reflect on depths that we perhaps had not previously acknowledged. I think that's really what Super-esque is all about. It's about creating that cognitive recursion that enables us to go even deeper into ourselves and bring out tacit knowledge and tacit understanding that we can then apply in our work. Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Is that you studied, well, you got your PhD in philosophy.
Yeah.
Right? So what drove you that connection from philosophy, majoring in PhD, into then tech? Where did you see that connection? I guess, and that's what's led you into this world of AI.
Look, when people think of philosophy, they tend to think of old men with white beards and togas. It seems very sort of old and hossy.
Holding the big books and with a quill or something.
Exactly. And I think, that is the view that I had before I started it. But when I went in there, I discovered that there was a community of people there who maybe didn't have beards and they weren't so old, but they were going deep into some fundamental questions about our lives, but they were also thinking really broadly. Like what you learn in philosophy is to think across centuries. You know,
Wow.
you'll start with ancient philosophers and you'll learn about the whole development of the history of thought and ideas through the century. And when you put all that together, it really brings home to you just how much our present moment is just an iteration of this long journey, of this long conversation. As human beings have explored and built and learned and run up against the limits of their knowledge in pursuit of understanding more. Like, what I realized was that philosophy is essentially this discipline positioned right at the forefront of that movement. It's not a bunch of fusty old men. I mean, there are a lot of fusty old men in philosophy. There's no doubt about it. But essentially,
I know quite a few people who study philosophy, and they are not crusty old man. They're quite the opposite.
The radical fringe of philosophy, which is where I always tried to be, is trying to position itself right at the forefront of what we understand now, at dealing with all those weird questions that are being thrown up in the dust of the tech innovators and the business innovators, trying to process all these questions that are coming up and make sense of things. And so when I realized that academia wasn't for me, the only place that made sense was entrepreneurship and innovation. And as soon as I moved into the startup world, I thought, oh my God, I've been hanging out with the wrong people for the past 15 years because suddenly I found myself amongst people who also were like, wanted to be right at the limit of things, beyond the limit of things, but they were actually building stuff. They were doing things.
It's interesting.
It was fascinating.
We say that, like, with anything in not just AI, but like if it's blockchain that we've done some work with and in other areas of technology, the tech alone is not the solution. It has to be coupled with expertise. And when you think about like what AI is, this reflection of language based on math and all that kind of stuff that large language models are, but it is closer to that philosophy of philosophy is this science of thinking, right? And I like that you pointed out, so I'm just saying that AI is like quite a perfect fit for this. I like that you point out through centuries of time, it's this, not just conversations, it's the conversation of humanity is like what this has all been about and stuff. So it's interesting what you discover, you know, through Foucault, Heidegger, and you know, Socrates and all these great thinkers that you would have had to. Now you're applying it with AI to help business leaders and stuff. So
yeah.
It's interesting.
How do you find that too? Like, philosophy tends to also be a lot about asking the question rather than providing a specific answer. It's not a finite thing, right? How do you find that, especially when you're dealing with leaders and they want an answer, they want an answer, they want that now thing, that what's next? How do you find that transition between the two?
Look, I don't think leaders, I don't think strategists are going to come to a philosopher in search of finding like the answer to their questions. But I think philosophy is more like a capability development thing, because philosophy teaches you to like stay with the question and really explore the question, try and understand different dimensions of the questions you're dealing with, look at the question from different angles, you know, consider different kinds of responses. And when you develop those kinds of skills and capabilities, that really increases what you can put into the mix when you're trying to come up with a single answer.
I love that. It tends to, especially a lot of the work that I do, and I'm the first person to say I am no skills in philosophy whatsoever. But
you might be surprised.
Well, potentially, yeah, exactly right. Very philosophical answer. But what it does, hearing what your response there draws a lot of similarities to, you know, asking the right questions when it comes to dealing with customers, understanding their needs and wants when you're building products.
Yeah.
Asking those questions in the right manner and sticking with those questions, the hypothesis, and come up with obviously inevitably a solution that has a lot of drawing lines between those two and how you can relate them to create the things that, or speak with the people you've been able to speak with, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming is what led to a lot of your, the books that you wrote around.
Look, most of the things that I've done have come out of like the sort of passion to learn something or to move my thinking myself in a certain direction. like I said earlier on, my career has been a zigzag through all kinds of things. I've been a consultant. I've been a researcher. The business I co-founded with my partner in 2020 was a human-centered research business.
Awesome.
I've worked in startups. I've worked for large companies. I've tried to launch various ventures of my own, but I've never, to this point, found a venture that kind of ticks all the boxes for me. And the three boxes are fundamentally philosophy, innovation, and human capability development. But when I really started digging into AI in 2024, it was this watershed moment for me, because I suddenly realized that here was a tool that threw up so many fundamental questions that it demanded and demands a philosophical response. It's full-on innovation. It's innovation on steroids. And the interaction with AI it's changing us, and it's raising our game and building our capabilities. So I was just like, bang, bang, bang. Philosophy, innovation, capability development.
Sounds like the Holy Trinity, but maybe just Trinity, we'll call it, like, but who knows where religion.
Let's get into the Matrix.
Yeah.
Matrix, yeah.
Well, actually, speaking of the Matrix thing, like, something came up the other day, and I'd heard about it before, like, as part of like a feature of AI, just given how it's engineered. There's a lot of the good, but then there's things where it's like, okay, it's weak at these things because it's probability models and blah, blah, blah. But lost in the middle is what they call it. And lost in the middle is where it remembers the things at the start of a long document, things at the end, but stuff in the middle, it gets lost. And it's similar to how we think as humans. We've got recency bias, we've got primacy bias.
Yes.
And so we also get these things lost in the middle. And it's just like this fascinating thing where, again, it's just a reminder of how similar we both are. And if we've got something that is similar to us, doesn't sleep, doesn't get overly emotional if we don't want it to, we can get away from the sycophantic ChatGPT, what it was back in the day. But imagine being like people that are in, say, the philosophy space, or business leaders, being able to chat with personas that are based on those historical kind of thinkers, and having conversations that you just physically can't have, but you could potentially have with, set up the agents in the right way. I think this is like fascinating in terms of what that unlocks. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I have more to say about the co-intelligence and the similarity between AI artificial intelligence and human intelligence. But look, I passionately believe that the future of work is an environment in which professionals are building clones and replicas of themselves to expand their reach and their capability and amplify their core expertise. I mean, I'm so passionate about that goal. I think I would say that I'm devoting the next 10 years of my life to actually participating and making that happen. It's like a vision that I feel in my bones.
What do you see as the impact it's going to have? Like, if we talk about the future of work, where do you see us going with AI, and I guess impact both positively and negatively on?
Well, look, obviously the composition of the workforce is going to change. A lot of the routine tasks are going to be automated, which will lead to the transformation of the mix of jobs. But I'm far from convinced that we're going to see the massive redundancies that some people are projecting, primarily because I think that by itself, and this kind of takes us back to the question of artificial intelligence, by itself, AI is kind of smart, stupid.
Yeah.
It's kind of like people I knew in the university. They're like brilliant at doing one thing, but ask them to do something practical or to show any kind of empathy or compassion for another human being.
It's like
made up. We made up everything.
The dumbest smart person you've met kind of thing. Like, it's going to be so dumb at those things.
Genius level stupid.
Don't get it to do anything else. Just get it to do this thing here, and it's great, right? And it's very fast, and it's amazing at that talent. But
But you put that synthetic intelligence together with a human being who has contextual awareness, who has compassion, who has human empathy, who has a sense of skin in the games, like Jeopardy, and they, that so they actually are worried about outcomes.
Yeah.
That combination of the AI plus human is super powerful. And so that's why I'm suspicious about the idea of massive job loss, because I think that at the moment, I think business leaders are focusing on what they do best, which is automating as much as possible to, increase productivity, lower costs, get rid of unnecessary jobs. But I think pretty soon we will come to recognize that there is much greater potential in the human capability development side of things, because like human plus AI, that's the magic. That's what the magic happens.
We already have seen this kind of stuff with the few people that are in. If you go to businesses, the stuff that I've seen is that the adoption is just not there across the board.
Yeah.
They might have installed Copilot and then saying, oh yeah, look at all the Copilot use. And I'm just using Copilot as the example, but not everyone is using it. But and it's not to say Copilot is a bad tool. It's just a lot of AI has not been trained in terms of how to use it. So what if that other 95% all of a sudden get that upskilling, and then there's more ideas, because it's only the 5% that are giving out the ideas right now. We are untapped potential in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you say about people using Copilot, not getting value out of it, makes me think of one of those findings from the recent MIT Gen AI Divide report. This is the report that found
Talked about that a couple of times.
90% of businesses that are running AI pilots getting zero ROI, but 95% of employees in these companies are using AI on the sly. The shadow AI phenomenon. Those people are not spending their time playing around with, the version of Microsoft Copilot that has been given to them by their workplace. They're going home and they're installing Claude Code. Or they're playing around with N8N.
Using it right now, in the background as we speak. So
there is this is what fascinates me. There is this massive grassroots experimentation going on at the moment. It's probably the most sort of rich and dynamic social experiment in technology we've ever known. And most of it is just going on under the radar. The media is mainly focused on big AI and the companies that are installing AI, but it's all that grassroots activity. I think that's actually where the innovation is going to come from.
They don't
get all kinds of startups coming out of that, and that is what's going to change the way that organizations operate.
I love this, that grassroots, this shadow activity that's happening in the background. It's so true. Like even today, having a discussion with some people, it was actually kind of a scary shadow type of situation. Was this situation with Copilot being the example has been integrated. They're like, it's a horrible thing. Like I just use Grok on the side. I feel it's so much better. And there was a part of me just like, oh my goodness, using Grok in a business is just, I could just like see a security alerts all over. But perfect example, didn't want to pay for his own platform. He's using the free one that's out there. It actually gives you a lot of value and
all AI
getting more out of the system for it. It's just it's happening.
Let's get into there's a philosophy side of things. You brought all of these things together, the entrepreneurship, the philosophy, and like the human impact side to create SuperEsk. For the folks that might not know what SuperEsk is, can you describe it in a bit more detail? I want to dive deeper into that because I find it fascinating what you've created and just through these first few cohorts, what's been happening there. But what is it? How would you describe it?
SuperEsk is an advanced AI education program and capability accelerator or expertise accelerator. Well, we're focused on teaching people how to build AI agents that are trained on their own expertise. And what the audience that we're going for is we figure we have this niche lying between the AI literacy courses that are introducing people to fundamental AI skills, the tooling, the basic mindsets and approaches. And then the other side, you have the more technical programs that are basically focused at the consultants, the engineers, the builders. In the middle, you've got this great gap, which is just kind of like waiting to be filled by knowledge workers. These people from these organizations who are being told to use Copilot, but know that there is so much more potential that AI is offering them, and they just don't know how to access it. So SuperEsk is going for those people. We are showing knowledge workers, subject matter experts, managers, executives, how to excavate their expertise from the back of their brains, because that's a difficult process. I call it cognitive archaeology. Excavate all that stuff, code it into AI agents, and then work with those agents to create that mirror effect where you see yourself reflected in the performance of the AI. You kind of objectify yourself. You understand what you're doing even better than you did before. That creates a kind of a process of learning and elevation. So the SuperEsk program has one foot in AI engineering and AI building, another foot in professional development.
Wow.
Bringing those things together.
Because I've seen like one or the other kind of thing, not something that really brings it together. And I think that would be fascinating is like, imagine that feedback that you have a meeting or you write a report or you give it a whole bunch of the stuff that you've written, and you have this thing that knows you, that has been trained in details about you, that can give you pointed feedback, not just, hey, ChatGPT, rate my thing. And it's like, well, it's going to rate it based on what? But if you're giving it a framework where it actually has a good understanding of the mission that you're trying to drive and your background, I think it's going to be much more pointed and intelligent answers that you would have been like, wow, I would have paid a lot of money for this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what I'm trying to do in SuperEsk is to like fill a gap that seems to me to have been left vacant by the tool focus that has been applied to understanding AI. You know, ChatGPT, when it came out, it was designed as conversational AI. It was trained to
very much
to be engaged with and to be used as a thinking partner. It was evaluated and trained by experts to ensure that it gave really sharp, reasonable responses to really deep probing questions. And so really you've got this synthetic intelligence there that out of the box is ready to be engaged with and be worked with as a thinking partner. But what is the mindset that we apply to this thing? We see it as another tool in our toolkit. It's another piece of software that we can use to plug into our existing workflows and get things done a bit faster. I think that's actually, I mean, you know, with all respects to everyone who is using AI just to make their work go faster, that's a fine use case. It actually reflects a bit of the failure of imagination, because what we have here is not simply a tool alongside our other software tools. It is an out-of-the-box thinking partner that we can use to engage and elevate our own thinking and go on a journey, which is a fascinating thing. But this brings me to what I wanted to say earlier on about the difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence. You're going to see right here how I tend to zigzag from innovation to philosophy to human capabilities. I'm about to like zigzag to philosophy here. Aristotle, you know, the great ancient Greek philosopher, said there are three.
I don't know. What's the
Aristotle? You must have heard of
Some great guy.
Who's that guy?
There are three fundamental domains of human knowledge. There's theoretical knowledge. You've got the laws of physics, math, science, all that kind of stuff, right? AI is great at that. It's got all that stuff solved, right? Then you have technical knowledge, which is basically art and craft. How do you do things? How do you make things? Human beings are great at that, but AI can also show you how to do that because it's trained on YouTube and Reddit and everything like that. The third kind of knowledge, however, AI is not so great at, and that's what Aristotle calls practical wisdom. And the reason why AI is not so great at that practical wisdom space is because practical wisdom is all about contextual understanding, right? Like we were talking earlier on about those academic PhDs who can, you know, solve Fermat's last theorem, but they can't do something incredibly practical. They have that theoretical understanding. They don't have any simple practical wisdom, but it's practical wisdom that actually enables you to apply theoretical knowledge and apply technical knowledge and put it to some practical use. That's why AI needs human beings, because human beings can be pretty dumb when it comes to like the laws of physics, and pretty inept when it comes to like, building stuff using technical knowledge. But we're actually really good at kind of just looking around and going, given what I know about this context here, I kind of feel in my gut that we should be doing that thing. AI sucks at that. AI can't do that because it doesn't know our context. But we do. And that's why that partnership between AI and humanity is the sweet spot.
Putting that into context, this kind of explains where a lot of people are experiencing even the job pressure right now when it does come to the AI. Is like it's not the people in the middle management yet, not the people in the upper management. It's those who are entering the workforce for the first time, who are doing the basic creativity, the basic maths, the data entry. It's all those low level jobs that haven't yet had that wisdom application part, which the later part of your career does. Which obviously AI, as you're suggesting, doesn't have the ability to yet plug that, like it's experience and wisdom that separates us from this machine, right?
Exactly.
So they're feeling this pressure because they don't yet have that wisdom. It's like,
well, look, they've probably got more than they give themselves credit for. I mean, I think fundamentally wisdom is the ability to identify what good looks like. And every teenager,
thinks they know.
well, they have a point of view, right?
They do.
Like sometimes they're, in with certain realms of knowledge, like, fashion or art or music or media, the contextualized point of view of a 16-year-old is probably a whole lot sharper and more interesting.
They're the creators of all the subcultures that happen in the world, right? It's exactly where it comes from.
Exactly. I think as human beings, we, from our earliest age, we develop this awareness of our environment and the ability to identify, what is a good outcome in this environment? What's a good outcome? What's a bad outcome? And how should we act and behave in order to achieve that good outcome? That's practical wisdom. And I think that is what we bring.
We can contextualize a lot better. And look, that there are the language models, the large language models, the way that they've been trained are far different from what some people in the space are trying to build, which is the world models that actually have more of that contextual insights and thinking. Like just stuff that's only based on language is going to be far more limited because of what is there in language. Like language is a very strong part of like how we share and how we built up intelligence, but it's only a small part. That contextual side of things is interesting. It's almost like in the future when they do build these world models, like are we then training it like children, like literally like babies and toddlers and teens, and showing it the world and like what's good about that?
We are now, right?
We are now, yeah. And you see these robots and all these things like they're out there, but it's fascinating where the world is going. But I think unless they have that, going back to it, that framework that you're trying to help people understand. And I like what you said before. And so Super-esque is helping build that in capable leadership and stuff like that. But I like what you said before, where just using it for workflows, it's not really, it's such a shame because there's so much more that we could do given creativity that's out there. And when I'd like to work with the companies I'm with, workflows is one part. That's the thing we do today. Growth and thinking about opportunities, that's the tomorrow, or the stuff that we should start thinking about, So it's fascinating that you're seeing that in, I was going to call it the trifecta,
I wrote it down. I think it's
So I think it's really good because I want to see more of that creativity. I don't think we know yet what tomorrow is going to bring.
We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and I think we're all invested in actually finding a path towards to get us to that point where we can actually see across the horizon. We're in such an unprecedented situation, such an unprecedented moment in history. When I think about how to compare where we are today relative to historical moments of transition in the past, I think where we're at, it can't be compared to electricity, even though there are parallels between AI and electricity. Simply because, I mean, AI can enable new kinds of workflows and new ways of doing things, but electricity does not talk to us. Electricity
Give us feedback.
it doesn't give us feedback.
You get electric shock.
Yeah,
That's the only thing. There's only one kind of
I did
feedback.
it wrong. Oh, I'll do it probably next
yeah.
time. Sorry. I really think of a parallel historical moment to where we are today. I think one has to go back to the age of revolutions at the end of the 18th century, where you had, massive wars in France, in the States and elsewhere. And it just kind of, it undercut the underpinnings, the foundations of society. And when you're in those kinds of situations, there's no way of predicting the future. You've just got to go through the process, hope that everything doesn't fall to pieces, and try and build as positively and optimistically as you can.
On that French Revolution stuff, and I saw it with my partner. We watched during the French Film Festival. I think it was called The Deluge, and it was like one of those films about, Marie Antoinette, her final moments with King, whatever his name was. But in any case, I didn't realize this, but there were it wasn't just the one revolution. It was like rupture, repair, and then rupture again, and for just decades they had multiple things of this kind of change until they settled into the the new system that came about. But I just thought it was just pardon my French, but a clean cut. I thought it was going to be, with the whole like guillotine kind of thing, but it wasn't. It was just this up and down thing until they figured it out. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say there wasn't a week in France that there wasn't a revolution. That was their thing. You weren't French if you hadn't experienced a revolution. Going through like that suppressed experience, how are you finding people facing, I guess, this tool that they've made, this twin of themselves by the end of it? Like, have you had any interesting responses to their experiences after?
Yeah, for sure. I should say that people don't get to the point of seeing themselves reflected in the agents that they build until the very end of the program.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because there's so much, as you know, there's so much involved in building and training an AI agent. We start with the process of cognitive archaeology, which is a matter of spending a bit of time working with an AI agent who questions you, gets you to reflect on your professional life and experience, the challenges that you have, the things that drive you, and then synthesizes all that and puts into a set of system instructions to give you an agent that you can work with that will begin to reflect you as you are working. And that's the first sort of mirror experience that people have. But then we have to introduce them to, we have an advanced AI prompt engineer that they actually work with to rebuild that. And then they have to go through a series of, through the process of evaluations. There's a whole week.
Evaluations, like they give their feedback kind of thing?
Well, they work with another engineer who, they identify the problems that they're having with their assistant.
Yeah.
And then they use this other engineer to make discrete improvements to their system instructions, leveling up the performance of their assistant. And then in the final week, they've got that assistant. They're working with their assistant. They're actually putting it to work in their profession. And finally, they work with a final agent that helps them think about a cohort of assistants that they could build, starting with this one agent to basically capture all the dimensions of their expertise. And I think that's where people need to get to. If we're talking about building AI agents to support you in your work, it's really a question of identifying, I guess, the key pain points that you're having, the key areas where you need support, and then building those assistants that can not only solve those problems for you, but do it in the way that you would do it. So you've got those simple clones that are easy to work with, that reflect you at your best and enable you to bring more of that good stuff that you're already bringing to your context. And it's in that moment, right at the end, where people actually have the dimensions of their person like laid out, that I think people start going, oh, wow, I'm actually pretty cool. Look
at that guy.
This is really what inspires me about the whole thing. Going back to the human capability development thing, right? I've always felt, and and this goes back to the beginning of some of my earliest experiences. I've always felt that most of us have magic inside us. Everyone has some little magic spell, some little thing that they just do like really well, and that makes them just great, super,
Yeah.
you know. But then we go into a job, then we go into the workforce, then we submit to the grind because we have to, because that's a career, and
That's what gets rewarded right
that's
now.
what gets rewarded, right? And if we're lucky, we manage to find a way to get to a place where we can actually bring that magic to life in the workplace. But the majority of people, aren't that lucky, and maybe they have to unleash that magic elsewhere in their life. So it kind of breaks my heart that so many people go through their work lives, their entire professional lives, with a sense of like, I wish I was somewhere else doing something else because I've got something to give, right? What I'm trying to do in Super-esque is to show people that with the help of artificial intelligence, if you can build AIs trained on your expertise, then you can bring that magic to your professional context. You can kind of understand it, unlock it, and unleash it, because I think that's what work should be about. And I kind of like, I dream of a future workplace where everyone is able to step in there and just basically go, hey, look at me. I've actually got magic to bring here. I could do really special stuff. And if you don't believe me, I just got a little team of AI agents here, and just let me unleash them. Let me show
Oh, you see my team, yeah.
It's like a similar kind of vibe, but touching on the superhero thing, which is the creative element. The way I always position everything that I do is like everyone has a creative part inside of them. Even if you're an accountant, if you're a mathematician, or you're the guy who puts data into a spreadsheet and at work.
Sometimes they do it creatively.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
numbers change.
A lot of innovation projects, you get people coming in and they overlook everyone in the business and bring him in that process, whereas actually their specialty and their skill makes innovation much more than just the staple way of just doing things. Like their creative touch adds a flair and a perspective that no one has thought about, which is the magic of innovation.
Yeah. But we've got to give people the confidence
to bringing it out and facilitating those situations is such an important.
believe in themselves to do that. Yeah.
In that sense, what's a good example of someone's role who's gone through this process and has applied this twin of themselves? What's an example that someone could relate to, maybe themselves, or in terms of what they're doing, going through this experience?
Do you mean in terms of what they've built?
Yeah, like application into their role. So I might be a person in a particular role. What could that role be? Going in to your process, coming out with my twin. What would that twin be able to do for me?
Okay.
Example.
A friend of mine was in the first cohort, and this guy, he's an Indigenous Australian leader, and he is also he's a startup entrepreneur. He runs a company called the Scale Institute. I don't know if you know Stephen Rutter.
I don't.
No.
We're going to look that up though.
Pictures on the thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's got 6 businesses on the go. He's got his training and education business. He's got an Indigenous investment business. He's on the boards of various foundations, and he's just struggling to basically juggle all these things and also align them and find the kind of the core that brings them together. So what he wound up doing was building a team of agents, one of whom was kind of front of house, that kind of took emails from people and figured out where to route them. What aspect of his world is this inquiry relevant to? And the agent would actually kind of play a front of house concierge role for the person who was making the inquiries. Then behind that, he had a series of agents, one of each of whom was helping him with a different aspect of his work. So that was kind of like the support team that he was working with to deal with these different parts of his business. But right at the center, he had this kind of single source of truth agent that was trained on everything. It was kind of like an operations agent, trained on everything, understood all the elements of his business, and that was really the main agent he was dealing with when he was thinking about his work. It was kind of like his thinking partner, his partner in his business, that would guide his thinking and his relationship with the other agents in his network. I mean, most of this this cohort was just in design form at the end of the program. Still don't know how far he's got on actually building these things, but the design was brilliant, and he came away thinking, okay, so now I not only have more capability to handle the work that I'm doing with all these different ventures, but I have this deeper understanding of who I am and what I'm trying to achieve, because I can see it
Helping validate a lot of
reflected in these agents that I've built.
How someone not going through the course, how could someone get started on exploring this themselves? If
I think people are
be tools or what kind of recommendations? Yeah.
Well, I think people are doing this kind of thing at the moment. I've been talking to lots of people who are doing similar kinds of things using custom GPTs.
Yep.
I think you can build, I mean, as I'm sure you know, you can build all kinds of incredible assistants using custom GPTs and give them training files to build context, give them a clear understanding of who you are and who you're working with. What we're doing at SuperEsk is we're working with a platform called Typing Mind, which is great. You can access pretty much every major AI model through Typing Mind. You've also got a whole bunch of software plugins that you can add to your agents, and you've got a knowledge base as well. At least if you get a personal license key for Typing Mind, you've got a pretty good knowledge base, and you can also create an external RAG training system as well. So you've got everything on that one platform for building very sophisticated agents with software plugins and deep knowledge through a RAG training framework.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I got one more question. Do you have anything else?
No, go ahead.
My last question is like, how do people find out about SuperEsk? I guess like, how do they get involved?
Go to the website, see what we're offering. You can register to learn more about the program. You can also sign up.
Awesome.
We're not running a December cohort.
Okay.
Everyone's too busy to do this kind of thing in December. But we're going to be starting in January with a bit of a bang, and 2026 is going to be a big year, I think.
I think it is too.
Fantastic. We're not far away, but looking forward to seeing what all the SuperEskians, or whatever you're calling the cohorts, get to create. Yeah.
So am I. I mean, I think we should have a some kind of like showcase or something at some point.
It's a great idea.
It's very hard to showcase AI.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Here's my coded bot.
Yeah, like it walks in or something. But yeah, I think there'll be ways, but it's just like more like people doing like a lot of these things. There's like personal or business confidential related stuff to really be able to show the value. But we could probably have some scenarios where, you know, they show, hey, normally I would do something like this with client A. Here's what it was able to do for me. I'm sure there's going to be ways.
Yeah. I tried to do a whole bunch of YouTube shorts where I was building AI agents in real time. It took me about half an hour to build an agent, and I thought it was a really exciting thing to do, but I can tell by the number of likes and shares that I'm getting that it's actually insanely boring to watch someone building an agent.
Guarantee that has a lot to do with probably YouTube's algorithm.
Yeah. There's going to be ways to do it, like music and all that. And I reckon even if you put it out again, it's just like the timing. Sometimes you have to put a video out a few times and stuff, but it gets to the right audience eventually and stuff. And even if like you don't have it straight away on YouTube, someone in the business world that you're trying to get to is going to find value in that. So that just keep going, you know?
Yeah. Look, I think that we're still at a very early stage.
Oh, definitely.
Extremely early stage. Certainly adoption is, people are just at the beginning of their learning journeys. So it's a greenfield opportunity, I think, for anyone who's working in AI at the moment.
It is.
Fantastic.
People, check out SuperEsk. Tim, thank you so much for joining us. Awesome conversation.
Thank you very much, Mark and Chris.
Thank you, Tim. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Well done.
Enjoyed it.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome. Right on top.